everybody, I'm here showing you the tarot decks that I'm working with and oracle decks I'm working with for the month of April 2023, talking a little bit about my practice and just, what I'm working with for the month. So this is a deck, this is going to be the tarot deck I'm working with for the month. Now, I have not used this deck in a while. This is the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot. Just comes in like a tuck box. You can see, it's tuck boxes never last particularly long, but I'm trying to keep it as best I can. And it just came with like the little white book. I kind of wish there was a bigger book with this because the imagery in this particular deck I find to be very interesting. So this is the backs here. I think there's a different set of backs without the red berries, but anyway, that's the one I had. I got it a few years ago. So this deck is very interesting deck. Now, usually in April, I usually work with the Alice in Wonderland Tarot. At least that's what I've been working with the past couple of years. This definitely gives off some very Alice in Wonderland type of vibes, but it can be like, it's like weird. It's a bit creepy. It's a bit disturbing. I think disturbing is a good word for this deck. It's childlike, but it has images like this. And so a lot of people I find have been using this deck for things like inner child work, shadow work, that kind of thing. And I just felt called to work with this particular month. So this image obviously is one of the ones that I think people find a little bit disturbing. I think this is the only boy in the deck, the only male in the deck. That might be wrong. There might be a couple others, but it's very female heavy. But its images, I think, are very intriguing. They definitely speak to something sort of in us. And, when we think of childhood, we think of sweetness and light. But often, if you think back to your childhood, there was a lot of things that were like scary, and there's a lot of shadow, and kids love like creepy, scary things. So I actually think that this is very good for doing inner child work. Love the little creature here. I love this too. The kings in this deck are all females. And one criticism I have with this deck is it's very hard to sometimes tell who the king and the queen is. You have to judge the crown down here, which they're very similar in some ways. But one thing that I find helps me to remember which the kings are is that they often have things either coming out of or on the dress. So the King of Cups, she has a dress here that's like the waves with the sea monster and the ship there, which is very interesting. You've got this bee girl here for the sun. The Ace of Cups, kind of interesting with all the sort of little doll figures here. So there's just some very interesting imagery that I really felt called to work with for April. So yeah, it's a childlike deck, but it's definitely not all sweetness and light. There is something, like I said, that is just a little disturbing about it. Like this, we've got the moth here for the Three of Swords, and she's pinned, just like a pinned moth, So very interesting, very evocative type of imagery in this deck. So that's the deck I'm going to be working with. If you're getting a reading from me this month, this is probably the deck that you're going to see, unless, so I have specific readings that use specific decks, but this is the tarot deck that I'm going to be working with this month. I just feel called to that. Now, for the Cartomancy deck, I'm still working with the classic Lenormand. I often use this in kind of, I don't know if you'd call this spring. Where I live, it is the muddy season. And so I like using this deck. I find too that this pairs really well with the Alice in Wonderland deck, and I think it'll pair well with the Ciccoli deck too, just because it has that kind of Victorian imagery to it. Like those, I think, go together really well. Got the red and the red. Yeah, I think these work together really well. Oh, this one's. Did I box the cards? Yes, I did. I boxed the cards. Okay. That's interesting. With the coffin there, it's kind of disturbing imagery. The rocking horse and the woman, like she's turned away from him. Oh, this with the moon? Yeah, these go together very, very well. And then the creature and the bear. Let's do one more, see what they look like. Oh, this, and then the clouds, the worry. So yeah, I think these two pair together really, really well. I think I'm going to enjoy working with them together. So this is the classic Lenormand. I got it a few years ago. It comes with a really great guidebook if you're looking at learning Lenormand. This is by Llewellyn. But the time I got it, it wasn't in one of their newer, sturdier boxes. I don't know about now if it comes in a sturdier box. I got to get a little bag or something for it because right now I'm just using an elastic band, and I know that's probably not the best thing. When it comes to Oracle decks, I'm also going to be pairing it with the Alice in Wonderland Oracle. So let me zoom out. Come on, zoom out a bit. There we go. Okay, so we've got our Alice in Wonderland Oracle, which again, like I said, April, I usually work with the Alice in Wonderland Tarot, at least I have in the past couple of years, so these two were a natural pairing. Now, the Alice in Wonderland deck, this is a Jasmine Beckett Griffith deck with Lucy Cavendish, so you've got like the big-eyed girls, which Jasmine is famous for. So people, again, tend to think, oh, this must be a very like sweet and like, you know, kind of childlike, fluffy kind of deck, and it is not. So first of all, I love the damask print on the back. I think that's really lovely. But it's got some darker imagery in it as well. And if you read the guidebook's very well written. And I really like the insights that Lucy Cavendish has. And it references a lot of our history, which she does tend to do, and which I, as a artist, really, really love. So we have Who in the World Are You? And we've got here this very Hieronymus Bosch. It's got a little bit of a Bruegel kind of background here, very dark. Love that. We've got Use Your Time Well with the Cheshire Cat. All in the Golden Afternoon. This has a very Monet type background. Curiouser and Curiouser. All Must Have Prizes, Trying to Please Everyone. Like, there's a lot of deeper kind of meanings and context in this, and I think it'll work very well with this Coley Tarot. So let's take a look. Let's do some pairing again. Keeping Up, Immense Effort and Advance. Okay, I'm going to split it so that we get different cards. Oh, you know what? I'll do it this way. Yeah, I think that is a good pair, for sure, with the blues and everything. I really like the way that looks. Changed in the nice. You have changed quickly. We've got the melting ice cream here. I'll turn this up right. See that he's melting as she's licking it. The Eight of Wands. And this one has a Van Gogh, Starry Night. I think everyone recognized that. Shine bright like a candle. You will make it through this. Along with the Eight of Wands. So the lights and the lights. Like it's very good. These are actually like really enjoying these pairings. The Right Way, learning to create what you desire. So learning to do things the right way, or sometimes we have to break the rules and do things a different way. And then you've got the page of cups here with all the fish jumping around. So I think this would be a very interesting pairing this month, working with these two together. And I think, again, both of these can really be used for a lot of, like I said, shadow work, inner child work, that kind of thing, with this kind of imagery. Now, the other Oracle deck I'm going to be working with this month is, again, kind of going with that sort of Alice in Wonderland dreamy subconscious vibes. We've got the Shaman's Dream Oracle. This is a collaboration between Alberto Villaldo and Colette Baron-Reid. This came out a couple of years ago, I think. And it also has kind of some, dreamlike, kind of some of it is very whimsical type of imagery. So you got here like the Horned Cactus, about resourcefulness. Perfect Storm, the courage to step into life. So it's this very sort of dreamy type imagery, very much about like the, they were working, I think, with sort of these shamanic ideas and the dream world, and it does definitely have that vibe to it. Cosmic Moon, the Divine Feminine, there a little bit. There, if I put my hand on, it seems like the light A little bit overlit. There goes, that's better. Dream Thief. The refusal of the call. A tidy house. Clarity and organization. So I think all of these will go like very well with each other. Hollow bone, teachability. Heart, home, compassion. So I'm looking forward to working this. I also have not worked with this particular deck in a while, so I'm curious to see how it's going to pair with the other decks. So those are the decks I'm going to be reading for, like not only for myself, but for other people with this month. And then I'm going to show you a couple of decks that I'm using just kind of more in my own personal practice this month. Just putting that away there. All right. So first of all, I'm still working with the Power Thought cards by Louise Hay. I'm going to be using it for this spring. So used it last month, and then I will also be working with them in April and May. And they're just like really nice affirmation cards. I will pick one for the week and kind of work with it. This week I'm working with Everything I Touch is a Success. And there's more on the back. So they sort of have the main affirmation on the front, and then it has more on the back. And they're just like, again, I've showed them before, but they're just really nice. Nice little thoughts, positive thinking, things that I enjoy. I release the past and forgive everyone. It's a hard one. Divine wisdom guides me. Trusting can be hard too. I am worth loving. So a lot of like really nice, positive type affirmations that I think are very good. And I really like this deck. It's got a lot of like flowers and trees and things. I think it really speaks to kind of that springtime energy that I'm looking to bring in to my life. And then for the final deck, and again, this is one I'm using more for myself than with others. I felt called to work with the Work Your Light Oracle cards. This is from Rebecca Campbell and Danielle Noel's the artist. She's a very popular artist within, sort of the Oracle world. And it also sort of has these are a lot more love and light, I think, than the other decks that I'm working with this month. I love sort of the pastels on this. There, get the lighting a little bit better so you can see it a little bit better. And, like things like this, like Anagram, Mother of Jesus, I don't necessarily work with a lot of, Christian sort of deities, but being raised Catholic, I appreciate all of this stuff. I understand the context for it, and it doesn't bother me. I certainly can work with it. Again, I was just talking about that, and then we have this sort of like very Marian type imagery, Star Mother. It's got a lot of good spring energy with it. Got Break the Chain. So this, I think, can add to, and I may end up using this one in readings too, but I think, with some of the more difficult imagery that happens with the Sokoli Tarot and the Alice in Wonderland Oracle, it's nice to have something that kind of offsets it a bit, that's a little bit more it's sort of like the warm hug at the end of a reading. But I think that, again, with the collage and the imagery, again, to me, it speaks really of spring and does really lend to that kind of, sort of Wonderland, otherworld type energy of like fantasies and dreams. So that is the Work Your Light Oracle cards. So that's what I'm working with for the month. Again, what I like to do with these is I do have a deck that I pull every day. Currently, I am working with the latest Colette Baron Reid Oracle, but I'm going to do a review. I think that reviews are more beneficial than unboxing. So I'm going to work with it for a while, and then I'm going to let you know what I think, because I don't know quite yet how I feel about it. So I'm going to do a review about that. And then, with these, what I usually do is I'll do like readings for others with these decks, with the Oracle decks and with the Tarot deck. And I usually do a big reading for myself during the month. I might pull cards during the month here and there, and especially with something like this probably be more of a weekly type card. Same with the affirmation. Like I'll probably work with these two as weekly cards. So that's what I'm doing for this month. Let me know if you like any of these decks, if any of these are on your list, how you're working with them, if you work with them. I would love to hear that. Again, if you're interested in getting a reading from me, you can always go to my Etsy shop and peruse what is there. I may have to, unfortunately, raise some prices in a bit just because Etsy is taking more and more of our earnings. For any of you on Etsy, you would know that you probably are aware of this. You probably even heard people complain about it. So I may have to raise, or I may have to move my shop somewhere else. I'm looking at that. But for now, I'm going to leave things this month the same on Etsy. So if you want, it's April 2023. If you want a reading, please go. You can go there to get a reading. Also, check out my Patreon this month. We are working with Loki. We are also, we have a spell of the month coming up later in the month for Beltane. We're talking about the World card when it comes to tarot, and we're also talking about Venus in astrology and what that means in your birth chart. So you can check all that stuff off there if you're interested. Otherwise, just thank you for watching this and for any likes and comments and, just being there. I really appreciate it. So again, thank you so much. And as always, I got to do it right. Peace and love and rock.